Welcome to the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation podcast. At the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation, we are committed to making a lasting impact on the lives of Africans by fostering innovation, accountability, and accessibility in public service delivery and healthcare. Our vision is a future where the public sectors of African countries can provide essential goods and services such as healthcare for the well-being of their citizens. Through the voices of leaders, change makers, and experts, this podcast will take you on an exploration of the African public sector and healthcare spaces and will leave you with a deeper understanding of the issues, challenges, and opportunities that exist within them. Subscribe to the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation podcast for more thought-provoking discussions and a glimpse into the power of collective action and vision.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2025 year-end special of the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Okigbo, founding partner at Nextier. It's a privilege to reflect on a year defined by bold strides, deep learning, and meaningful impact. This isn't simply a review of activities. It's a moment to acknowledge lives touched, public institutions strengthened, and the cadre of African leaders empowered across the continent. This year also marks the conclusion of the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation's 2020 to 2025 strategic cycle, a period of deepening impact, expanding partnerships, and setting new standards in public leadership. This year alone, the Foundation scaled programs, revitalized primary healthcare centers, and deepened collaboration with government ministries, departments, and agencies. Joining me today are two leaders whose vision has shaped this journey. Aigboje Aig-Imoukhuede CFR, Chairman of the Foundation, and Ofovwe Aig-Imoukhuede, the Executive Vice Chairman. Aig, welcome.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm delighted to be participating in our year-end 2025 podcast.
And Ofovwe, your leadership has also been so central to the Foundation's success. Welcome as well.
Thank you very much, Patrick. It's wonderful to share this moment with our community, and thank you so much for agreeing to host.
Fantastic. Well, let's start with a question many often ask. Why would a private organization invest so heavily in strengthening public institutions? Conventional logic suggests the reverse. Yet, the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation has committed significant resources, expertise, and time to building governance capacity across Africa. Aigboje, could you shed light on this question?
Yeah, Patrick, thank you very much. I started working in 1988, and throughout the course of my professional career as an executive, and it continues even after I retired from banking in 2013, I've had the opportunity to see the intersection between the private sector and the public sector, and how together, of course, the reality of that intersection defines national outcomes. And I learned very early that no matter how hard individuals or companies in the private sector work, the quality of public institutions ultimately determines how far a country goes. As I said, my own career was built in the private sector. So yes, in the private sector, I have seen firsthand what discipline, capital, and talent can achieve when they are all put in great alignment. But I've also seen the limits even within the private sector, and more so when the environment within which private sector entities, operate are very challenged because of weak public institutions. Even the best run private organizations struggle, sometimes fail, when they operate in environments where the public institutions and the public goods and services are weak, inconsistent, or under-resourced. as I say to my friends in the public service, with the stroke of a pen, an officer on a desk, high or low, can destroy companies, entrepreneurs' lives if that decision is poorly thought through and basically not the appropriate one to take. So this realization stayed with me. So the question for me has not been whether the private sector matters. Of course it does. But what sustains the private sector's success and what allows you make multi-generational progress is the strength of public institutions. Capable civil services, sound policy processes, credible regulation, and ethical leadership. Our foundation, the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation, exists because I believe that Africa's challenge is not talent. We don't lack talent, we don't lack ambition. Africa's major challenge, too often, are our public institutions not being strong enough to enable us convert that talent into lasting national outcomes. When public institutions work well, they multiply the impact of every private effort. Take banking, take pensions, take mobile telephony, and so on. You can see how the private sector exertions, initiatives in these sectors were made possible by great public institutions that regulated these sectors. So when public institutions work well, they multiply the impact of private effort. When they do not, they place a ceiling on that impact, and progress remains fragile and unequal. So the work we do in the foundation is not about replacing government or romanticizing the public sector. It's about building the capacity of the people inside public institutions to do their jobs well, to do their jobs with professionalism, with confidence and integrity. What we do in our foundation is an investment in permanence. Businesses rise and fall, philanthropies come and go, but strong public institutions outlive individuals. They are how societies maintain values, how society builds and maintains competence, and how societies give opportunities on a multi-generational basis. And that's why a private foundation would choose to invest so deliberately in public institutions, because that is where personal success meets national responsibility as far as I'm concerned. And that is where short-term achievement becomes long-term progress. This initiative about building high-quality leadership in the public service that our foundation is all about demonstrates not just what is possible, but that we can, in Africa, begin to make permanent progress. So it's not one step forward, two steps backwards. Our decision, and we don't see ourselves as a charity in the narrow sense of how you define philanthropy. We are very strategic, we are very deep. We are investors in the upstream, where small improvements in governance capacity produce outsized long-term impact across society. The work we do is the invisible, silent infrastructure behind every successful nation, where you have great public servants manning the helm of strong public institutions. Without them, the private sector excellence that we speak about remains fragile. With them, it becomes strong, enduring, and permanent.
Thank you, Aigboje. The foundation's mission is so inspiring. Your perspective captures the essence of why this mission matters. Strengthening, using your analogy, the engine room of governance aligns with Douglas North's institutional theory, which emphasizes building resilient structures that endure beyond individual actors. So thank you so much for that. Ofovwe, it's been 5 years since you embarked on this journey. Early critics, and I remember this, warned it might be a futile effort, yet the impact speaks for itself. Could you share with us a story that illustrates the fundamental difference the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation's work has made for public servants, communities, systems, etc.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think it's very hard to limit myself to one story because we've done so much work over the last 5 years that I can say has really made a difference to all of those three. So to systems, to public servants, and to communities. So if you don't mind, I will share 3 very quick stories that speak to how our work has been transformational in these 3 areas, because together they tell the full story of impact. So let me start with systems, because systems shape everything else. In 2020, right in the middle of COVID, we began working with the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, that's the OHCSF, to support their digitalization efforts. Now, for those who don't know, the OHCSF is the administrative and professional nerve center of the Federal Civil Service. It's basically responsible for setting standards, coordinating reform, and ensuring the effective functioning of the service as a whole. So any innovation that happens in the civil service should start from this office. So digitalization was something the office had been trying to do for years and was part of the Federal Civil Service and Strategy Implementation Plan. But they haven't been very successful, really, because no one really bought into it. But COVID forced the issue because it became very clear that a paper-based civil service can't function when everyone is working from home. So our digitalization journey with the OHCSF started in 2020, as I said, and it was not a very quick or easy process because our focus was on sustainability. The civil servants themselves had to understand and own the system, otherwise it would never work. My team worked side by side with the public servants to fully digitalize the office, rethinking workflows, building digital skills, and importantly, helping the civil servants fully embrace new ways of working. Because in any change project, you have to ensure that there's buy-in from the people who actually have to do the work. And our goal really with this project was to use the OHCSF as a pilot that would then be rolled out across the entire federal civil service. So at the end of the 2-year process, we took all our learnings from the project. We created a digitalization template that could be implemented across all ministries, departments, and agencies. We held workshops, we held training sessions with the entirety of the civil service to ensure that the process would be as easy as possible to implement. And I'm pleased to say that digitalization is now spreading rapidly across the federal civil service, with many MDAs already fully digitalized and others actively transitioning. Now, the long-term impact of this shift from manual to digital on efficiency, transparency, and performance cannot be fully measured. We know it's going to be transformational, but we don't know yet what those numbers will be. But what we can say right now is that the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation helped to ignite a transformation that is really reshaping how government works in Nigeria. And all the changes that will happen in the future when we move from all the manual processes of public goods and services to digital will have started because of this work that we did with the OHCSF. So we're very proud of that. The second story is about the public servants themselves. So one of the most remarkable lessons of this journey has been seeing how public servants, when they are truly empowered, when they are equipped with skills, exposed to new ways of thinking, and trusted to lead, seeing how they can rise to the occasion. There are many, many talented people working in our public service. And when they are really given what they need to deliver, they rise to the occasion again and again. And, we have this program called the AIG Public Leaders Program, which we started again in COVID in 2021. We work with the University of Oxford to deliver that program. And to date, we've trained almost 300 public sector leaders. And we've watched how these very talented individuals rediscover a sense of purpose in their work. They had previously felt constrained by the systems, but when they come together, they see that they're not alone. They see themselves as agents of change working within the system. So we're trying to build a whole community of these change makers who can lean on each other, who can learn from each other, but who we can also connect with mentors to support and guide them, and connect with resources and provide constant upskilling and training, so that they are really equipped and ready and committed to building a public service that can deliver. And finally, communities, because reform only matters if it changes lives. So as part of the Public Leaders Program, all participants need to go back into the system and implement a transformative reform project in their organizations using learnings from the program. And the impact that this projects have had on communities is outstanding. Couple of statistics from health-related projects is that one participant led a reform that improved access to primary health care in a remote riverine community by over 60%. Another redesigned hospital processes, reducing patient turnaround time by 50%. And it's not just limited to the health sector. We also have someone who digitalized critical processes at the Central Bank of Nigeria, something the institution had struggled to achieve for more than 10 years. We have many, many, many stories like this. And these are not just statistics, they represent mothers getting care, patients spending less time in pain, institutions finally working as they should. So when people ask whether this journey, like you said, many doubted at the start, has been worth it, I don't necessarily say give theoretical statements or whatever. I like to answer with these sorts of stories, talking about the stronger systems, the more confident public servants, the communities that are better served. And that is why 5 years on, we remain as committed as ever to the work that we do. I'll stop there. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Wow. These are really remarkable stories. Thank you for your work. Aigboje, let's zoom in on 2025. The foundation engaged in this year with the largest cohort of the Aig Public Leaders Program, expanded across 7 African countries and deepened its partnerships with government ministries, departments, and agencies. Aig, if you could capture this year in one moment, what would it be? What's that signal to you that the foundation has moved from pilot to purposeful execution?
Patrick, slightly over 5 years ago, we began with a conviction, silent conviction, but burning conviction that was simple, informed, but very ambitious in its implications. And this is that Africa's long-term progress would be shaped less by moments of brilliant Churchillian-type leadership and more by the quiet daily effectiveness of equally brilliant public servants in our institutions. At the time, this conviction ran against conventional thinking. Many asked why a private foundation would invest so deliberately in public leadership and governance. Today we believe the answer is no longer theoretical. It is visible, it is measurable, and it is growing. This week, we welcome the 5th cohort of our Public Leaders Program, 70 outstanding public servants from Nigeria, and as you said, 6 other African countries, making 7 in total. Employees in ministries, in regulatory agencies, and other public institutions that are at the heart of national life. I love to interact with these classes, and I spent some time, just like Ofovwe, with this 5th cohort. They all come with different experiences, but they all leave with a shared commitment, which is to raise the standard of public service and to really make an impact on their countries. 350 public leaders and counting have joined the community that Ofovwe spoke about. Today, they are shaping policy, they are managing public resources, regulating markets, delivering services, and influencing reform across the African continent. Many of them do so without fanfare. That is actually how public servants are meant to approach their work. Yet taken together, their work represents something very powerful. And as this growing network of principled, capable Africans inside the public system expand, their capacity to change what was not good or right becomes more and more powerful. And we are especially encouraged that this work is being recognized at all levels, because very important for us is the deepening of our partnerships with ministries, departments, and agencies, because these partnerships reflect trust, alignment, and shared purpose. They tell us that the work we do is no longer seen as peripheral, but as foundational to national development. We've received commendations at various times, even at the highest points of government, the President of Nigeria, President of the Republic of Ghana. We don't see these as personal honors, but as signals that leadership development and institutional capacity building are now firmly on the national agenda. So as we go beyond 2025, it marks a point of transition for our foundation. We've moved from inception to institution, from establishing credibility to exercising responsibility. So the question for us is no longer whether our theory of change works, but how boldly and thoughtfully we are prepared to scale it. The next phase is about shaping what we believe can now become permanent. But that's a hell of a lot of work ahead of us. But we step into it with confidence, humility, and resolve. Thanks, Patrick.
Aigboje, this is really very inspiring, especially the work you're doing with governments, expanding beyond Nigeria across the continent. Thank you so much for this. But, turning to the 2020-2025 strategic plan, this cycle has clearly yielded significant progress, as you've elucidated. Ofovwe, reflecting on the 5-year journey, what stands out in terms of successes, impact, and lessons learned?
Thank you, Patrick. It's a good question, but not an easy one to answer. Because the nature of the problems we're working on makes it difficult to ever feel that we have finished. I do think the foundation has performed well over this period. We've certainly exceeded our expectations in terms of the impact that we've had. But I've also learned that in this kind of work, the reward for success is more work. The scale of the challenges means that progress often creates new responsibilities rather than a sense of closure. But to answer your question, the impact, what stands out for me is the public servants themselves. I've learned the biggest lesson for me has been to understand where sustainable change actually comes from. So it's important to invest in improving systems and processes, but systems don't implement themselves and processes don't change outcomes on their own. Ultimately, change in the public sector will happen through public servants who are empowered to do their jobs differently. And so that is really where we have seen the biggest impact. Apart from our Public Leaders Program, we also have other custom training programs that we do, helping empower public servants to be able to write better policies, do M&E, and so on and so forth. But really, we have seen that when we empower the public servants themselves, that is where we have real impact. When we give them the right training, when we support their work with solid research and usable data, and when we understand or try to understand the realities that they face and help them structure solutions to overcome these obstacles, that's where real impact happens. So I think, yes, the public servants themselves and what we have been able to do with them is really what stands out for me. And another lesson has been the importance of focus. So in a context like ours, there's always more that needs to be done, and we're always being approached by so many different organizations who have real needs, and we can actually see how working with them can impact, lives or cause transformations. But it's important for us to remain focused so that we're not pulled in so many different directions. We only have limited capacity. So we have to stay anchored on who it is we're trying to enable, because that's where lasting impact comes. So as this strategic cycle comes to an end, I'm very proud of what we've achieved, but even more clear about what the next steps need to be. Because if there's one thing, as I've said, that this period has reinforced for me, it's that sustainable reform really depends on investing in public servants themselves and supporting them with the systems, with the evidence and the confidence they need to deliver change, because that is how impact endures. As Aigboje said, we're building something that will outlive the work that we are doing now. Thank you very much.
Fascinating. Aigboje, as you close this strategic cycle, how has it shaped the foundation's capacity for even more ambitious goals?
Thanks, Patrick. I always say that there was some providence, so to speak, in our decision to ask Ofovwe to man the helm of affairs as CEO of the foundation about 6 years or 7 years ago. And interestingly enough, her training prepared her so very well for the role she plays today. She's a lawyer. She holds an MBA. These are the classic, and she had banking experience in technology and so on. So in a sense, almost she is the classic McKinsey person who goes on to run a non-profit. But then Ofovwe also went down the road of development, and this is her personal passion, and went for further postgraduate studies on developmental economics and related subjects. So she was very well placed from a background standpoint to lead us into the organization we have become now, as she manned the helm of affairs. She surrounded herself with a very strong team, which continues to build out and operates from both Lagos and Abuja. And, when I look at the staff list, I'm amazed at the numbers. Now, of course, the values of the foundation are very much tied to our personal values, integrity, excellence, world-class practices in every regard. And all of this has enabled us scale our programs, scale our activities quite effectively. We recognize that partnership and collaboration is key. I mean, this is a marathon race that we're running, and we need to hold hands together with others in this race and share the bottles of water that will fuel us as we run the marathon, encourage one another, and together with our partners and our fellow runners, so to speak, we believe that we will breast the tape eventually. One of the developments that validate my belief that we can go on to even more ambitious goals, as you've asked, is the quality of institutions that are choosing to partner with us. We have major institutions across the globe that are learning from the work we are doing in Africa and seek to take this proof of concept, this initial pilot, as you called it, maybe for the globe, that is now proved in Nigeria, to other continents. The Oxford University's Blavatsky School of Government continues to receive requests across the world from countries whose governments and whose people and whose leaders say they want to start this public leaders program that's running in Nigeria in their own countries. So we've made a sizable family commitment to resource our foundation. We are yet to exhaust that commitment. It's of a quantum that will ensure continuity. And, we don't like to talk about financial contributions. And so I won't state the amounts. But I'm confident that with our capacity, alongside with the capacity of our partners, both financially and in other areas of resources, that we can scale up even beyond where we are, today. So, like I've said before, the work ahead of us is significant, but we step into it with confidence and resolve. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that story, and Ofovwe, thanks for your leadership. Let me lead with a quote I really like from John Cotter's seminal book, Leading Change. He wrote, "Leaders who fail to appreciate the complexity of the human systems they seek to change tend to underestimate the resistance, overestimate their authority, and ignore the need to develop a guiding coalition," end of quote. Now, Ofovwe, over the years, where did the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation need to show the most humility, and what critical insights emerged about the complexities of transforming public institutions, especially in Africa?
Thank you. That's a really important question because transformation work has a way of humbling you very quickly. So I'd previously spoken about our work digitalizing the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. And at the beginning of the process, we sat down and created a very nice Gantt chart work plan that basically had us completing the task in 6 months. And we had a lot of assumptions about the work that we were doing. So we assumed that standard operating procedures were in place, and those, we just had to digitalize those. We got in there and realized very quickly that SOPs were non-existent. So SOPs had to be created. And that very first obstacle really opened our eyes to the fact that it was important to put aside all our preconceived notions, all our assumptions, and basically try to meet the public service, the public servants where they were. There's this phrase in development that always sits in my mind in this work that we're doing. It's called working with the grain. Working with the grain really means to try and understand the context in which you are working and adapt. So we had to make sure that we didn't go in with preconceived notions. The area that we needed to show the most humility was in how we engage with the public servants themselves. So we had to be very deliberate about not approaching this work or everything we were doing as people who had all the answers, who knew everything, because your private sector experience does not translate very easily into the public sector. So we had to become partners who genuinely wanted to understand the constraints that the public servants themselves were operating under and help them to overcome those constraints so they could achieve their goals. Now, civil servants themselves are understandably very cautious of outsiders. And this, is a reality that didn't just come from a vacuum. It has arisen because there's so many consultants who are hired to go into the public service to implement reform initiatives, who come with ready-made solutions, sort of like, we're going to approach the digitalization process, and who just, tell public servants, do this, do that, it's easy to do it, and then leave without fully understanding the institutional, the political, the practical obstacles that shape the day-to-day reality of public service. So too many transformation efforts have failed because public servants were not carried along. No real ownership means no lasting change. So that is something that we really, really focus on. We have to make sure that we carry the civil servants along, and we have to make sure that they believe in the work. If they believe in the work, they believe in the solution, then they will trust us. Because if they don't trust us, they will clam up. They will not respond. And civil servants have a way of really, really derailing you when they want to. So we had to build trust. Trust became central to our work. We had to be seen as partners. We had to be seen as friends of the public servants. And we did this by really showing that we wanted to learn, that we wanted to understand, and we were just there to help and not impose. And it's been very successful. I have an excellent team, as Aigboje said. They work very hard. They go in and out of the offices in the civil service. They make friends with the public servants. They understand them. They talk to them, and they become part of the solution and not a problem. And so that lesson has really stayed with us and is very, very central to everything that we do. That sustainable transformation isn't driven by technical brilliance. You can have the most brilliant solutions, but if you don't get the buy-in of the people who actually have to use those solutions, you won't go very far. So sustainable transformation depends on trust, it depends on respect, and it depends on deep engagement with the people who are expected to make the change happen. And once you get that right, everything else becomes possible. It doesn't mean that it will be easy, but it will be doable. Thank you.
Ofovwe, this is really, really impressive. Thank you so much. By the way, the development concept you referenced at the top of your response, Working with the Grain, is the title of this great book by Marilee Grindle, by the same title. It's a great recommendation for folks who work in the development space. Well done. Aigboje, the lessons Ofovwe has just referenced must shape your thoughts for the future. So as the foundation prepares for its next strategic chapter, what's your bold vision for the next 5, say 10 years? What do you want the foundation to be known for by then?
Thanks, Patrick. I hope you will find the response to your question bold enough. But my vision for the next 5 to 10 years is for our foundation, the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation, to help make effective public institutions the norm and not the exception across Africa. And I can be very specific by what I mean. I want our foundation to be known for proving that strong, ethical, and capable public institutions staffed by capable public servants are not a matter of chance or personality. It's not this lottery of the Messiah coming into an organization, but of a deliberate investment in people, systems, and culture. So there are 3 things that this vision captures and at scale. First, that the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation becomes Africa's most trusted platform for developing public leaders, not simply by training individuals, but by shaping a pipeline that identifies talent early, equips these women and men rigorously, connects them across borders, within nations, and across continents, and supports it over time. A generation from now, I want it to be the norm, not a remarkable thing, that ministers, permanent secretaries, heads of regulatory agencies who are reforming across Africa pass through an Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation program or some of our work, one way or the other. The second thing in this vision is I want us to be known for strengthening institutions, not just inspiring people. Leadership matters, but it endures only when embedded in systems, that's policy processes, the incentive framework, data, accountability mechanisms, and of course, institutional memory. Over the next decade, our work will increasingly focus on helping governments translate individual capability into organizational performance and public value. The third thing and the final thing that this vision encapsulates is I want the foundation to shift the narrative about public service in Africa. Too often, public service is seen as something about them versus us, and therefore we seek to make a compromise with them rather than understanding that public service is something that involves all of us and is a necessary contribution by some of us, supported by all of us, to the leadership required for nation-building permanence. I want our youth, who will, of course, be the most dominant force as this next generation comes into being. I want our youth to see public service as a demanding, honorable, and impactful career, one where excellence is expected and integrity is rewarded. If we succeed in all this, the foundation will be known not for its size, but for its seriousness. Not for being a substitute for government, but for making government work better. And not for short-term intervention, but for long-term, permanent institutional impact. Ultimately, my ambition is simple but demanding. That when people speak about countries that work, it won't just be Singapore, Dubai, Norway, and today Rwanda. Countries where policy is thoughtful, institutions are credible, and progress is sustained. They will speak about African institutions, particularly Nigerian institutions. And in that story, the Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation is recognized as one of the forces that helped make that possible. That is the chapter that we will be writing in the next 5 to 10 years. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Aig. I mean, it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. Seemingly simple, difficult in implementation, but I mean, the potential size of the impact is really remarkable. So thank you for that. Ofovwe, as we look across the continent, what are some of the green shoots you're beginning to find in Africa's public sector that give you the confidence in the foundation's theory of change, that a focus on improving the capacity of Africa's public sector is the place that deserves the most significant effort at this time?
Thank you for that, Patrick. And there's a few examples that have been very, I would say, inspirational. The first, of course, is Rwanda. As Aigboje mentioned, Rwanda is a country that is doing very well. And that can be credited to, yes, there's good leadership, but the leadership is focused on ensuring that the systems are in place and that the systems work for the people. So the public goods and services that are provided for the people in Rwanda, the healthcare, the education, the infrastructure, the security, all of those things depend very much on a very strong functioning public sector. The next example is Ghana. So Ghana has had its issues over the past few years, yes, but they've also built a very, very strong functioning civil service. The public sector in Ghana is one that really needs to be emulated. The reforms that they have implemented over the past 10 to 15 years are something that as Nigeria, we should really look to. One of the researchers that we have been working with from the University of Oxford brought a lot of case studies about how the civil service in Ghana has transformed over the past 5 to 7 years. And this has been done through a very, very deliberate set of reforms that has resulted in, I think at this point, about 80% of Ghanaian citizens have national digital IDs. And through those digital IDs, they're able to access all sorts of public goods and services. So that is a clear connection between public sector reform and citizen empowerment. Socio-economic development will come from that. And so I don't think that we can deny that if you improve the public sector, you improve the lives of your citizens. Yes, we see those examples all across the developed world, Norway, Denmark, Finland, and so on and so forth. But we also have examples in Africa that point to the fact that deliberate, intentional focus on improving the quality of the public sector can lead to improved socioeconomic conditions for citizens. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. This has been a deeply meaningful conversation, for me and I'm sure for our listeners. Aigboje Ofovwe, as we step into 2026, what words of encouragement would you offer to the dedicated public servants and the citizens they serve? Let me start with you again, Ofovwe.
Thank you, Patrick. To the public servants, I would say the work that you do matters, often in ways that are not immediately visible. And I know public servants have a bad rap, very bad reputation. But a lot of the issues that you face are systemic. You face constraints that can be frustrating. And any progress that is made can feel very incremental, but lasting change happens through steady, committed effort over time. And you, as a public servant, you are central to that process. So I would say continue to bring your integrity, your professionalism, and your persistence to your work. They are not wasted. These are the foundations on which better institutions are built. And to citizens, I would say the civil service is not a distant or abstract entity. It is made up of people, many of them who are deeply committed and who, as I said, are facing very difficult situations and constraints and real limitations to deliver the services that you expect and improve the outcomes. Change may not always move as quickly as we would like, but change is happening. I mean, if you listened to just a little bit of the work that is transforming the civil service in terms of digitalization, you will see that change is happening. And it is being driven from within the system. So do not give up hope. And this is to both public servants and to citizens. Transformation is never really dramatic, and it doesn't happen in an instant. It comes over time. And when trust is built, when people are equipped to do their jobs well, and when small improvements accumulate into something meaningful, that is where progress will happen. It is often quieter than we expect, but that doesn't make it any less real. So the work ahead is difficult, we know that, but it's important that we do it. We cannot give up hope. And this is for both the public servants and the citizens. We have to hold on to hope, because if we give up, change will not happen. But if we have hope and we support the public servants and the public service, if citizens are actually interested and engaged, reform becomes possible and it becomes sustainable. So that is how institutional sustainable change happens. We need to make sure that we keep going. We must not give up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ofovwe. Aigboje, your words of encouragement?
Thank you, Patrick. My closing words are, as we step into the new year, into 2026, to public servants across Nigeria, across Africa, as Ofovwe said, your work matters more than you may ever be told, and certainly more than you sometimes feel. You know that the public service is rarely glamorous. It was never set up to be a glamorous gig, so to speak. The progress you help create often takes time to show, and when it does, it's easy for others to take it for granted. But societies are shaped not only by the glamorous moments that are attached to those at the most visible levels of leadership. Societies are also shaped, and probably more importantly so, by the daily choices you make as a public servant. Even the choice to show up early to work is such an important one. The judgment you apply, the standards you uphold, and your passion for great outcomes. These are the things that change the lives of the public you serve. So to those who listen to this podcast, who are serving in our public institutions, remain steady, continue to build your competence, protect integrity. You may not control everything, but I can tell you what you control. You control how you serve. You control the decisions you make. And by controlling what you do with the right outcomes, they compound over time. For Nigerians who use the public service, I want to say that strong institutions are a collective achievement. They are built not only by those inside government, but they are built every time you demand fairness, every time you respect the rule of law, every time you participate constructively and not destructively, and every time you hold leaders to account. I understand the low trust that exists today, and as a result, cynicism is understandable. But cynicism is not a strategy for change. Engagement is. As we look ahead, I'm cautiously optimistic. Across the continent, I see a new generation of public servants, thoughtful, principled, and ambitious, working for their countries. And I also see citizens who are more informed, more vocal, and more invested in the future they want to and have to inherit. Progress will not be instant, and it will not be perfect. But certainly, progress will be shaped by people who don't sit on the fence. People who choose responsibility over resignation and service over self-interest. I urge you to hold on to these words and hold on to the notion of public servants doing their work with excellence and our citizens engaging with confidence and purpose. Then next year will not be just another year, but will be a step towards the kind of society that we all deserve in Nigeria and across Africa. Thank you for listening, and thank you for believing that the public service done well remains one of the most powerful forces for good. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Aigboje. Thank you, Ofovwe, for your insights, your candor, and unwavering commitment to Africa's transformation. This conversation has offered clarity, optimism, and a renewed resolve for this important journey. For me as well. Several leading scholars, Douglas North, Merrilee Grindle, who I referenced earlier on, Paul Collier, Francis Fukuyama, and many others, share a consensus that Africa's development is tightly linked to the quality, capacity, and legitimacy of its public sector. Reforms must address bureaucratic competence, rule of law, political incentives, and institutional adaptability, not just markets or aid intervention. The efforts required to transform Africa's public service can't be left to the government or the few who have put their shoulders to the wheel, like Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation. Instead, it demands the collective effort of public servants, reformers, partners, and citizens, who believe that Africa must rise to achieve its full potential. As we close out 2025, we celebrate not only the milestones achieved, but also the people behind them, the quiet heroes across governments and communities who show up every day to make systems work better for all of us. The Aig-Imoukhuede Foundation remains deeply committed to strengthening partnerships, building leaders, and crafting solutions that endure. To the Foundation's partners, your collaboration and trust have made 2025 extraordinary, not just for the Foundation, but for the beneficiaries like us, citizens. The Foundation requires your continued partnership to achieve an even more impactful 2026. May the new year bring bold ideas, renewed energy, and the courage to build the Africa we deserve. Keep leading with purpose, keep shaping the change. See you in 2026. Aig and Ofovwe, thank you for your work, and to the listeners, thank you for your attention. Thank you.